Maybe what we should really be talking about is how to dismantle the public education monopoly. How about we go the other way? Maybe every independent school needs to be fully funded, and we need to phase out every government-run, union-funded public school more interested in indoctrinating students than teaching them critical thinking skills. We are spending billions of dollars to graduate students that have no capacity to think. When are public schools going to be held accountable to that? Danielle Smith, from her article, Maybe We Need to Defund Public Schools, from March 7th, 2018. Well, if podcast episodes were teachers currently on strike, this would be the special teacher strike episode of the Harmonious Gentlemen. And I'm Graham.
And I'm Tyler. And this is day one of the strike that we record this on. So
I think this is the first day you and I have ever been on strike for anything.
Well, I think when I was a child, I went on strike from doing chores every once in a while, picking up dog crap and stuff. But
yeah. Okay.
This is a little more real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is more costly.
Yeah.
So we're here. We're missing our third gentleman, Chris. Very much missing Chris this evening. So if you're listening, buddy, we miss you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll send our love his way. But Tyler, we just decided that as a bit of a special episode, we would just sit together and just kind of go over what's happening.
Yeah.
I constantly get asked about what the strike is, what it's about, and we are both teachers for many, many years.
Yes.
And we figured why not just get some perspective from some of our teacher colleagues and also share our thoughts and opinions on what's happening.
Yeah, and it's something that I know you've talked about it quite a bit over the last couple of weeks, and I feel like for me it's really ramped up in the last week or so, where it's every day and almost every person I see, it turns into a conversation about the current situation with the strike or leading up to the strike, I'm almost kind of like burnt out on talking about it.
Yeah.
But it really makes sense that we try to do this on our podcast. I think because it's a challenging thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And remain harmonious.
Yeah.
Because it hits close to home.
Yeah.
I've used the word triggered more in the last couple of weeks than I think I've ever used in my life. Not just from strike related news, but other things happening. So this is going to be a good challenge to kind of keep it harmonious here. But
yeah, no, I know. And I feel like I want to use the podcast that we've created and nurtured all these years. I think it's fitting that we do one like this, that we share our perspective. And to be clear, I think there's a disclaimer up front. Like this is our opinions. This is our experience only. Yeah. We don't speak for our union. We don't speak for the Alberta teachers. We don't speak for our Red Deer Public.
Yeah, or our schools.
Or our principals. It's completely 100%, which our podcast has always been this way, but it's just our own opinions.
Yeah, because the negotiations are happening as we speak. We just want to be really clear about those things.
Yeah. But I also think it's important that we're honest too. Mm-hmm. And so there's some quotes I want to talk about from some of our government officials that I think are really relevant and important that I think we need to hear and be aware of.
Would you say you've talked more to teachers about this topic recently or non-teachers?
It's been a good mix, but a lot of teachers. Like we went up to the legislature yesterday to the Edmonton rally and went up with teachers. Obviously, you're in a crowd full of mostly teachers and supportive families.
Yeah.
So been a lot of teachers. I mean, that's how we support each other at school too. A lot more lunch meetings last week than usual. A lot more talks, emotional and honest conversations. But definitely had a fair share of people asking as well. A lot of family.
Yeah.
My brother today, we chatted about it, and I sort of said, do you want the short or the long answer? Because there's a lot I could say, a lot of context I could provide, but when you hear the headlines, there's so much missing, and that's part of, I think, our frustration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've started a lot of sentences with, I'll save you the rant, and then ending the like 5 minutes later saying sorry about the rant.
I know.
It's like really hard not to.
But I've also had a little, not pushback, but definitely some things said back to me that are kind of consistent that I also want to talk about tonight as well. Like things that, and quite frankly, Tyler, like I think we believe in public education and not everybody does. Like not everyone I talk to fundamentally thinks it should be a cornerstone of our society. Like there is a fundamental difference between me and some people, maybe even some listeners. And just to put it into context, like we believe in this institution, and that's why we're doing this. Yes. And if someone says to me, well, I don't think we need those schools, then I don't really know what to say to those people.
Yeah. And have you had a conversation with someone who feels that way?
A little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cause I haven't, but I hear you. I know those people exist.
Yeah.
And one of those people is the head of our government.
Yeah, that's
province.
True.
And the challenging part is she was elected by Albertans.
Yeah.
And so you're saying that there's going to be others out there who support her view.
There will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess my broader point is that we can debate all day the state of schools, the budget, but at the end of the day, if the people we're negotiating with don't even believe in our institution, how can we bargain in good faith with those people? Mm-hmm. And that's part of my frustration right now, is that I could get all bogged down in numbers, but if you don't think that we need these places.
Yeah. Where do we want to go?
Well, let's just quickly off the top here. This is a different kind of episode, so we'll just quickly thank our sponsors, because they obviously continue to sponsor us. But we're going to sort of forego the jingles tonight and everything, and just kind of hear from some other colleagues of ours in between all of our talks. So again, a huge thanks to Blind Man Brewing, as always.
Yeah, and Cilantro and Chive.
Yeah, King's University
and Birdie Coffee Co.
Yeah, Dream Team.
Yeah. Thank you guys,
as always. So let's listen to another teacher or an educator, and then we'll come back.
Okay.
Here's some thoughts and numbers in regard to the current teacher strike in Alberta. Since 2013, teachers have had approximately 5.25% in pay increases. Meanwhile, inflation has risen by over 30% during that same time. This accounts for a decrease in purchasing power for teachers of 19% over the last 12 years. The Alberta government spends only 83.8% of the national average on public education, the least in Canada. The marginalized spending has made public classroom conditions untenable, diminishes the quality of education for Alberta students, while the government has raked in $8.3 billion in surplus in the last fiscal year alone. At the same time, Alberta education is still the number 2 performing jurisdiction in the world and number 1 in Canada, according to PISA. If Alberta K-12 education is valued, please fund education. Do not prey on teacher performance and passion as charity. I don't know any industry that has taken a de facto 19% pay decrease while performing at a world-class level. Are Alberta taxpayers really comfortable with that?
So Tyler, close friend and Harmonious gentleman, teacher for 15 years?
Yeah, I think this is number 15.
Okay. And I want to ask you how you're doing right now.
Yeah. Thankfully, I've been asked this question many times, like I said, over the last week. So this is kind of the stock answer. I've been able to keep it a little short. I'm mostly frustrated with the whole situation. I feel like with being on strike, it was something we had to do. I support that decision, and I'm glad that we were really united as teachers in Alberta.
If listeners don't know, it was the 89.5%.
Yeah. So at some point, if we weren't going to strike we never would. Like, this is the time, if there's ever a time. So my heart was really pulling in that direction. Like, we need to do this. You need to stand up for ourselves and for public education, for our kids, for the state of like society in my mind. We need to stand up for that. But my brain was kind of pulling in the other direction, saying, like, I just don't want this to happen. Like, this is just an inconvenience for one, also a disruption for learning for so many people. And then financially, obviously it's not nice either. No, I realize not everybody knows this, that teachers aren't being paid. Like,
I've run into that as well.
That's another maybe kind of sub purpose to this episode would be to inform our listeners a little bit too of some of the facts, because the facts aren't all out there.
Well, and to be clear, sometimes in negotiations with unions and strikes, there is strike pay of some kind. But because we have over 50,000 people striking at the same time across the entire province, there's just no money for that.
Yeah. So that's kind of that. I know I said I'd keep it short, but my answer is sort of like my brain and my heart are in conflict, which is in itself is frustrating. And then I think you mentioned it already before we got here, that we're negotiating with a government that I think doesn't have good intentions for our institution. So I kind of think, what's the point? Like, what's the, like, that's the brain speaking. My heart says there's definitely a point. Like, we need to fight for justice here. But practically, like, what is actually going to come out of this? Is it going to be any better or worse? Or
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel similar. I remember when this government won the last election, having this distinct thought of kind of knowing who they are and things that they have said, being fairly plugged into that election, thinking, what's going to happen to my job? Like, knowing that these folks, I don't think it's slanderous to say, have made a lot of comments publicly over the years about public education and public educators, and called us things like woke and that we're not indoctrinating kids, and there's been this language that's been used from some of these. I won't say all of them, but the quote at the beginning of the episode definitely speaks to this. Yeah. So I've been sort of wondering for a while what's going to happen. So, and I'm not saying I was like a genius for predicting this. I think even the union probably told us early on, you should start saving because this might not go so well. Yeah. So when this was, I guess I just had this like resolve in my heart that was already kind of there, like ready for this. Like I was already kind of thinking, I hope that the deal that we get offered in the spring, I did have some hope that maybe it would be reasonable. And then when it wasn't, I remember our first, was it 64% voted not to take the first deal? And the fact that we voted on pretty much the same deal, 90%, sort of says a lot to where we're at right now and the frustrations, the real frustrations. So right now, our family is fortunate in that my partner does work full time, and so financially it will be easier for us to weather than many, many others. So there's a little bit less stress there. And I agree with you, Tyler. I do think that if there's no action by our group now, I don't know when we ever would do it, right? Like that's all we really have at this point. And so yeah, I'm not feeling, I mean, today was a crappy day. Like I woke up feeling pretty miserable this morning. Like it was a cold day. It was a kind of a sad day, and the reality of it hits, but I was also kind of happy that like I wasn't regretting it. Like it wasn't like, oh, we shouldn't have done this. It was like, yeah, the reality is terrible, but it has to be terrible, I guess, is the crass way to say it.
Yeah. I don't disagree, but what are you hoping for?
Well, that's where I do agree with what you said, that I don't know if what we want is possible, right? Yeah. I don't know if it's possible under the UCP government to have a school system that is funded properly that we can be proud of. Like, I don't think that's possible, but I'm just hoping we can get closer than we would have gotten. Yeah. Right. And we can talk about specifics later, but if you want to leave the salaries, whatever, but like you got to figure out the class size and complexity. Like until you've been in a classroom with 38 kids and 5 of them don't speak English, like you don't understand that. Yes, you can say, well, teaching is hard. Yes, it is harder than it used to be, but it's the kids. Like think about those students in that room trying to learn in those circumstances. It's ridiculous, right? Yeah. It's ridiculous to learn like that. And so I know there's been this messaging about how teachers are greedy and, well, everyone wants a raise and this and that. Like, I honestly think if you said, look, take the 10 or 12%, but there's a class cap we're going to move towards. Maybe we can't cap it year one, but maybe there's like a 5-year plan where it's like we cap it at this number and then each year,
a progressive.
I mean, these are intelligent people negotiating. They should be able to do things like that, like have a goal and have goals every year. And 1,000 teachers a year doesn't do it. And the average person might sound good, but it doesn't even come close to doing it. Yeah. And I know it's expensive, but so is anything public for people. Yeah. It's expensive, and that's, when I go to my rants, I just say that is your job. If you don't want to do that job, you shouldn't have been the premier of a province in Canada. That's what that's what you have to do. So, sorry, you asked me if I'm I don't know what's going to happen. I just hope that it moves us a little bit further than we would have gotten.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know they don't want to talk class caps. Let's be honest, Tyler. Do you know? Do we have data on classroom sizes in Alberta right now?
Oh, I don't actually. Are you setting
You know,
that for? Because you probably do.
Well, no, I don't. You know why?
Okay.
Because
Why?
in 2019, the government stopped tracking classroom sizes.
Oh, okay.
They used to track
Yeah.
sizes. Now they
Yeah,
don't.
That's right.
So it's difficult without anecdotal evidence. But I think you and I have seen and heard enough that it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's not going to be every single class in every single school,
No.
but that's the tricky part, I think, is having conversations with people who don't work within a school. And their kid might have a good experience at school and come home and tell a different story than what is kind of the norm or the average. So that sometimes worries me that people are just hearing one or two anecdotes, and not understanding the issues across Alberta. So like specifically in the big cities, like Edmonton and Calgary, like the class sizes there are across the board kind of out of control.
Yeah.
My question to you about like what do you want out of this? Mm-hmm. My answer would be a little different.
Okay.
Like
You want those big bucks?
yeah, exactly. No, I just want to feel like my profession or the public education is valued. And like I don't know if that is possible to feel that way at the end of all this.
Valued by your government?
And society, both the government and Alberta, the people around me.
Yeah.
Like we, as a province, chose this leadership. Kind of, it shouldn't be a surprise that she's trying to dismantle. I don't know if this is too strong a language. Feels like dismantle public institutions like education and healthcare. That's the part I want to change. Like it's bigger than my salary. It's bigger than classroom caps. I think those are two things that we need in our society to function well.
Yeah.
And right now it feels like neither of those things are valued.
Right.
And for some reason, this government is still like a lot of people are like their approval rating is a lot higher than I think it should be.
Yeah. It has dipped a little, I think, but not as much as I would have maybe assumed.
And I feel like the way this is all going with us going on strike, it feels sometimes like we're playing into her hands, or like it feels like in the end of all of this, public education will still not be viewed in a positive light.
Right.
And that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
So I guess the opposite of that is what I'm hoping for is that after this, maybe there's a little reflection and thinking like, oh, maybe we do need to actually put some effort and respect on public education.
Yeah, it's a huge question on my mind too, and I've even considered over the years, if it continues to go the way it's going, do I want to stay? Like it's hard, like it's and not feeling valued is when you do something you really feel passionate about. Mm-hmm. That's hard for anybody, right? In any case. Yeah. Yeah. The legislature yesterday was obviously those are like-minded people, but it was tens of thousands. It was a lot of people. It was wonderful. It was positive. It was families, teachers, and there's support in Alberta. There is, right? And I guess, Tyler, my question for you would be, what is your heart to tell you the average Albertan thinks? Yes, there's people who don't believe in public schools. Yes, there's those who love it and value it. What do you think the average Albertan thinks?
I know this might sound a little contradictory to what I just said, but I think most people, if you were to ask them, what do you think about teachers, they would say something positive.
Yeah.
But if you were to ask, should we fund more, like, should we put more funding into education, then it's like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't think, and then maybe there'd be, average is tricky because I'm kind of balancing different perspectives out. I think you talk to someone, they're going to have a pretty critical view of how woke we are, or the curriculum, or like there is definitely some undertones that you can pick up from people. Yeah, it's hard to answer like an average.
Yeah, that's a tough question.
But But it's, I think maybe in general, the vibe I'm getting lately is fairly positive, but I also get a sense of ignorance, not in like a rude way, just that people aren't aware of what's going on completely.
And that's part of why I wanted to talk on the podcast, because it's literally just about like, here's some context. You hear these numbers thrown around.
Yeah.
You know, you hear 1,500 EAs, and that might sound like a lot.
Yeah.
But that's like,
well, we have over 2,000 schools.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's not a fix. It's not even, and the schools grow every year. Like, you know, the one thing that's kind of driven me a little bit crazy lately is, and I asked some colleagues the other day, I said, why is the government negotiating and bragging about more teachers? Like, that's the bare minimum. Like, our schools grow by population. They've been growing by thousands of students for years. It really shouldn't be like a bonus in our contract that they will provide more teachers to keep up with that growth. Like, that to me is like, that shouldn't even be. Yeah. Like, I feel like I'm kind of going crazy. It's like, of course we need more teachers. Why is that like a thing that's, hey, we're giving you this? I don't know.
And I was under the impression that the extra 1,000 is on top of growth.
So there already are allotments.
I think so. I'm not sure.
No, that's okay.
I'm pretty sure, but still.
Well, and we lose a lot of teachers too every year too.
Yeah, right? I think this is after attrition, and it's like, we get our budget per student is still going to be the same. So if we get more students, we'll still get more funding.
Right.
So this is on top of that.
It matches the per student, which isn't a high number anyway.
But the number, but even still, the 1,000 teachers per year, spread that across 2,500 schools.
Yeah.
It's a drop in the bucket. Like it's nothing.
Well, some listeners may have seen this website that you can go and basically see what your school might receive if various things happen. And there's one sort of stat that I jumped out at me a little bit with my school of 2,000 students. I love working there, by the way. It's a great school. But if our government funded the national average per student,
right,
we would get something like 23 or 24 new teachers at my school to manage those. So that's real change right there. And that's just matching the average. That's not going above and beyond.
Yeah.
You know, the government has bragged about, you know, these record numbers and all this. And it's like, well, actually, I don't know if that's really what is happening here. So again, I think those are numbers that people need to realize. Like, we're so far behind now after all these years of, you know, if you're not keeping up, you're underfunding, right? You're actually making cuts if you're not keeping up. And so it has been many, many years of cuts. And so then to turn around and act like it's like, it is a lot of money, but it needs to be more. And the thing is, I think we have it. Like, we have the money. If they cared about this, they would fund it.
Well, that's that's the whole job of the government.
Right, which is their job.
Yeah, even if they don't have it, they could get it or come up with it. Like there's a lot of, we don't need to get too political, but I agree. Like the phrase "we don't have the money for" is just false. Like you could put millions of dollars into ad campaigns against the ATA.
Yeah,
or
our tax dollars are paying for those attack ads.
Yeah, or as soon as we go on strike, put millions of dollars towards paying families. Yeah, which, like, I'm not saying those families don't need support.
Not at all. No.
But to say we don't have money to throw towards public education, but to put all these taxpayer dollars into attacking public education.
If listeners want to know what our government does when they need money, listen to our healthcare episode about the money spent sometimes on things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm just needing a little bit of a break, Tyler. I came tonight like not wanting to rant too much, and sometimes
but there's only two of us, so we just get into.
Let's hear from some more colleagues.
Okay.
Hello, Harmonious gentlemen. I am an educator in Alberta, and the stories I share are only a snapshot among 51,000 other teachers who show up to work and passionately serve and love kids every day. But I can honestly say that over 15 years as a teacher, this career has changed drastically. We talk often as teachers about how classrooms are no longer the way they were, that they are getting bigger and bigger, and that the complexities are higher, you know? oftentimes we weren't, and most of us are not trained to deal with children who are going through a lot of trauma from war-torn countries and beyond, kids with behavior codes, violent or otherwise. And we want to make sure that all our kids succeed. And in classes of, 40 kids, it's really hard to give all of them the attention that we'd like to give them. And I think that strain is part of why we're here today. I work in a small elementary school, and we are K-5. And the other day in our staff meeting, our secretary brought in a single package of cardstock. It was orange cardstock because it's fall. And if you're an elementary teacher, you know that fall is the time we make Halloween crafts and lots of crafts with leaves, and we celebrate the changing of the season. And she put this single package of cardstock on the table and said, "This is all we can afford. This is all we have." And so for the whole school, we need to share this one package. It was $33. And if you're doing fall crafts or Halloween crafts with your kids, we all have to share this one package. This was after we were told that there was no money for field trips this year, that there was no funding for various things. I'm in a position where I get to do interventions with kids, academic or otherwise, and I have bought all of those supplies out of my own pocket so far. It's not fair to kids that the schools are so underfunded that they don't get to have those experiences, that they can't make crafts, that they can't go on their field trips, that, we have to prioritize where money goes. We have to pick and choose what's most important. And instead of meeting all their needs, we have to decide which need we might have money for. That's really hard. And I have cried thinking about, we have a school where kids that are home during the strike are going to be very affected. And I feel quite emotional about it. We didn't want to do this. We didn't want to do this to kids, and we love them and care about them. And on this strike, we're all thinking about our students still. And I just hope that we can do better for them, that this government can do better for them, and that we can all show up for those kids the way that we want to, so that they can thrive and thrive in society. Anyway, thank you for listening. And I hope you all are leaning on each other during this time. And if you know a teacher or you are one, just lean into the community and into the support that we have, because we're stronger together.
I am deeply concerned for our high school students, many of whom still remember the disruption of COVID and understand just how much lost classroom time can impact their learning. It was hard saying goodbye to them on Friday, not knowing when we'll see each other again or be able to give them any information about how long this will last. Right now, the uncertainty is incredibly hard for students, their families, and educators who we just want to be there for the learners. I'm really disappointed and discouraged by our government's unwillingness to listen to the real needs of classrooms and by the constant inaccurate information that they've been sharing with the public. I long for wisdom and genuine leadership, for a government that would show care for more than 700,000 students in this province and care about the impact on their families, care about educators. We're all deeply affected by these decisions. I'm concerned about the government's actions and their apparent unwillingness to negotiate in a meaningful way, to truly recognize the realities in Alberta's classrooms and understand that supporting teachers is how we support students. At the same time, I've been deeply encouraged by the compassion and understanding shown by students and parents. Their support reminds me why we do this work and why we must keep fighting for a public education system that truly supports everyone it serves.
All right, well, gentleman Tyler, question for you. a question that I think most people that I've spoken to who are not teachers, or even some who are, have asked something similar. So I'll pose it to you. What would it take for you to end the strike? What do you like? What do you want in this deal? What do you guys like? What's a number? What are you guys actually looking for here? Because even our premier said something to that effect, that she said that she doesn't even think the ATA knows what we even want, which is not true. But what do you want? What would it take?
Well, I don't know if I can give a number, because I feel like I answered this question in a roundabout way by saying, like, I want like some respect back. But put a number on what would that look like?
Yeah. Or maybe a general,
one thing for me, the salary is not that important.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't go into teaching for the money. And I don't think many teachers do. Right. So
if they do, they were misinformed.
Right. But that doesn't mean it's not like it shouldn't be a part of the deal at all. But that isn't, for me, I would give up some of that for a stronger response to the classroom complexity. So the 3,000 teachers is something that has a number.
Mm-hmm.
That is their way of addressing it. It's minimal, like it's almost nothing.
Yeah.
So if that number was significantly higher,
okay,
that'd be something.
Yeah.
I liked you mentioned some ideas about a classroom cap. Like, I don't think that's on the table. That's why this question is hard to answer, because
right.
What would it take for me to end the strike isn't what I actually think we should get. Unfortunately,
right.
Because I
those
think,
are different things for sure.
Yeah.
I wish they weren't, but
and it feels kind of weird to say that, because then why, like, we should be standing up for what we deserve and getting what we deserve, but I just don't think it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
I find it.
I would love to see a not just a promise, but like a step towards a classroom cap, because that is essentially just increasing our funding.
Yeah.
But that you can't just say it can't be a promise to deal with a classroom cap in 5 years. It would have to be a step,
A plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and from what we understand, the ATA, I don't know how we heard about this, but like from what I understand anyway, that was a no-go in these negotiations. Like they won't
just keep going.
They won't talk about a classroom cap at all, which, kind of says a lot, right? When educators across the country, because some provinces do have classroom caps. Absolutely they do. And in fact, in the early 2000s in our negotiations and stuff, like some conservative politicians spoke to the importance of, here are some numbers that should be in elementary and in middle and in high school. Mm-hmm. And the numbers were very clear. And I just wonder, I would ask this government, why are you unwilling to even go there? Why? Like, you say things like, we don't know what you guys want. Yes, I think you do. Like, we want classroom caps. If you could just strip away all the other stuff, make our classrooms manageable, because I shouldn't act like that's a magic bullet, but in a way, every stress we've talked about would be alleviated in many ways. I mean, you would still need supports for students who need supports, and you would still need additional buildings and classrooms for those numbers. Yeah. But I guess it just confuses me. Like, why is that off the table? I mean, we don't even know our numbers in classrooms, so that's hard to even talk about. But
I did hear, and this might be another direction this conversation could go, is how the media is covering the situation and how the government is using their platform.
Yeah.
Throughout this. But I did see something, I feel like it was quite recent. Danielle Smith answered that question by saying there's just not physical space to do it. That's why the classroom cap isn't there.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, haven't they also bragged about the 90 schools they're building or something like that? Like, they've talked about that too. Yeah. So I guess, would they say that we're just not there yet? Maybe. Yeah. I don't know. That's fair point. Mm-hmm. I guess so much of my frustration is just built. It comes because of the years of neglect, right?
Yes.
Like, we're so far behind that we can't just throw our arms up and be like, well, there's no buildings and all. I don't know. I just feel like that's such a cop out in terms of. We haven't had a strike in over 20 years. Like it's just, we've watched what's happened. And I would encourage anybody to, we're just two teachers, but if you know teachers, just ask them how the job has changed.
Yeah.
It has changed. I mean, there's no getting around that,
Yeah.
And whether or not you think 37 or 38 or 40 kids, imagine writing, teaching an English class with 42 kids in grade 11 or 12. I mean, if that's how you think it should go, then I guess we just have different opinions. But yeah. So I like I said before, I read a few things online recently where it's like, look, we're not getting class caps tomorrow, but maybe we can work towards it. So like speaking to, we don't have room for it now. Okay, fine. But how about it's a higher number right now, but it's still a bit better, and then but that takes, to me, I just don't know how we're going to get to that point.
No.
In these negotiations.
Yeah. And like we said, we've both been teaching about 15 years.
Yeah. About the same.
And in Alberta, and it's been a slow decay, I would say, because it's almost like you don't notice it because it happened over 15 years.
Yeah.
But I've had a few people, this has come up a few times, like the actual differences over that time. Like when I started teaching in Alberta, the curriculum was one thing that was like world renowned. Like it was used in international schools.
It was.
And the pay, again, you don't go into teaching for the paycheck, but like if you had to pick between Alberta and other provinces, it was a draw for sure.
Yeah.
Like people
we definitely drew good teachers here.
Yeah.
I
Like people would want
Just kidding.
well, like,
but
it
is how you, when you talk about all these teachers are going to hire, it's like, why are they coming here to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then now I had someone actually last year, that was kind of before this all shook down with the strike, but someone said someone that taught for about the same length as myself said, if I were like a young teacher, there's no way I would teach in Alberta, right? Like I'd for sure move away. And I hadn't really thought of that. But I kind of get it. Like,
well, I don't have the stats handy, but there are stats on teachers before the 5-year point, like what percentage leave the profession, and it's just gone up every year for years. Like it's a lot of people don't stick with it.
Yeah.
And teaching generally has those numbers too. It's a hard thing to do. It's a certain kind of person, but they're just big in Alberta. Yeah.
So that's discouraging I still love teaching, and I like my role, and I'm not thinking of leaving. But the one thing that worries me is more the quality of education that my own kids are going to receive.
Yeah.
Because they still have a lot of school ahead of them, and I just want them to have the best teachers they could possibly have. Yeah. So I want teachers to want to teach in Alberta, and I want teachers to feel valued, and I want teachers to feel like they're being fairly compensated and that they're safe, and for my kids' sake.
Safety is one thing I've heard from a few people I've talked to in terms of just the complexity of those classrooms. And one thing you've heard that inclusion without supports is neglect. And what that, we have an inclusion model in our schools where kids get to be in the classroom, and if there's kids that need supports, they're still there. But as you lose those supports, you're leaving teachers to do more and more of those jobs that they shouldn't be doing. I felt for my daughter last year in her grade 1 classroom. I felt for her teacher. It was a huge classroom for a grade 1 group, for one thing, right? But then also just some of the characters that were in there, like, students that have every right to public education, but it did not sound to me, and I'm not saying anyone's at fault in the staff at this school, but they just don't have the supports to to help with those students. And I think if you talk to people, you'll hear those stories, especially elementary schools, like across the board. And EAs and their pay is low, and they go through a lot too in our schools.
Oh, man.
And that's
I think the job
thing.
of an EA has changed over the last 15 years.
We we should have even talked to an EA, because I think people would be shocked if they heard some of the things that EAs have to do and go through. Yeah. No, I definitely hear you, Tyler, on my own kids. Last year it hit me a couple times, thinking, man, this is different than what I remember. Yeah. But maybe I'll ask too, like, have you heard criticisms of the teachers? Like, what's something that you have perceived as a criticism of us in this, or maybe a legit criticism, or maybe something you've heard? That's a big question all of a sudden, but what, you know what I mean? Like, what is something that maybe you've heard more often than once or twice?
Well, in the media, like I'm following this story. Like, I'm engaging in the news and reading opinion pieces and reading and watching like statements being put out by the government and the ATA as well. But some of the criticisms have been just that we're holding out for more pay, is kind of like the way the headline or way like the opinion piece looks. And
we gave them the new teachers, but now they just want the pay. It's not about it's
right. It's, which I don't think is accurate. So, but that is the criticism, and I understand it. If you don't know and you're looking at this from the outside and you see like 12% over 3 years, right? Or 4.
4, but I think it's 3 from now, right? Because it goes back.
Right. Right. Yeah. Anyways, 12%. Like people are looking at that and like you're shutting that. You're saying no to that.
Yeah. I love 12% raise. Right.
Yeah. So I get that from like the outside perspective for sure. But I think a lot of that's not the whole story, and that's the problem. Is that and that's where it's tricky. Where I would say I would take less than that, but I also think we deserve more than that because of like over the last 15 years. I don't have the numbers. I think one of our listeners shared a whole bunch of numbers. Yeah, it's in there hopefully, but like it's been like we've essentially taken a pay decrease over the last like my whole career.
Obviously, think of the average house cost in the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. I mean, by every metric, we've lost buying power. Yeah. But I've also been told by people who I love and care about, well, like everyone's lost buying power in that time. It's not just you guys. Inflation has bit everyone, and wages haven't been rising. And I would agree with that. But shouldn't we hold our public institutions to they're the ones that can actually be held to a higher standard of living? Like they're responsible for us. They're right. Like I get the sentiment for sure. Low pay and corporate power, and things are getting really hard, right, for the average person. But so is that an excuse to not try and get what's right? I mean, I don't.
But I think there is another. We've listened to some of the. I have a few of our colleagues' voices in my head right now because we listened to a few of them. Yeah.
Thank you for doing those, by the way, everybody.
Yeah, they're great, and hope our listeners appreciate them too. Mm-hmm. But now I kind of lost my train of thought. But speaking truth to power is sort of what kind of came to mind there. That this is an opportunity to stand up for ourselves a bit against that oppressive force of corporate greed and privatization like that. Like I think this is the chance to do that. I might have totally changed gears there. I lost kind of track of what we're doing. That's something that keeps kind of coming up in my head is that kind of language. Like this could be a shift. I'm hoping it could be a shift for us towards, or at least acknowledging that, like, maybe if we weren't giving tax breaks to huge corporations, we would have the funding to support a public education.
Sure. Yeah. Our government, when they came in, the corporate tax rate was 12 and they made it 8%. They cut it by 4%. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was supposed to drive business, but I mean, what has it done? I mean, it's made people richer, and it's not rocket science. Right? Yeah. Like, are we conspiracy theorists? Like, no, like that's how this works.
I heard another kind of comparison of for insurance companies. They can increase their rates every year, but in Alberta, for auto insurance, there's a cap to how much they can increase their rates, and it's 7%, or I think it's 7%. Per year, and that's for a good driver. Yeah. Right. So our government says insurance companies deserve at least a 7% increase every year. Sure. But teachers are fighting for this
12 over the last
12 over 4, and
that's a
barely anything over the last 15, right? So that's, I don't even know what question we're talking about.
Well, speaking of insurance rates, that's one way that our cost of living has gone up. Let's go back, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's and when you hear that our government is capping it at 7%, it does sound good. It's like, oh, good, they're capping how much they can make. But the fact is that they're allowing a 7%
because that's
increase
reasonable
every year. Yeah.
Well, shoot, do you know how do our MLAs make a lot of money in Alberta? I mean, really, if everyone's hitting tough times, they probably should only have the same increases in wages that we do. And I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, so I won't say it, but they're definitely up there in Canada.
Yeah.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah.
And even in this province too, Tyler. I mean, we now have the lowest minimum wage in the whole country, right? This is oil-rich Alberta. You know what I mean? And we don't have money for our schools or our hospitals or for minimum. Like, that can't be the way it has to be.
But this is all setting the stage for privatization to come in and save the day, and that's what I'm worried about.
Ooh. Next up.
Hello, this is Jeremy. Most people call me JC. I've been a classroom teacher for 18 years, with the first 15 being spent in mostly regular classroom settings, and 3 years in some special education classrooms. My opinion on what's going on right now is that everything is super f***y. I think that we need better funding. We need to address classroom complexity. We need to really address, the inequities in classrooms. We need to provide a competitive wage. My current job is that of a student support room teacher, which I believe is a Band-Aid on a gushing wound. My main job is to regulate students and get them back into class, but I spend a lot of time doing more than regulating. I spend a lot of time, pseudo-counseling, like triage, and it's great. I love my job. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about my job, but that's just the way things are, right? I have to deal with some of the smaller things so that the counselors can deal with the bigger things, right? To put it into perspective, one of the biggest things kids come to my room for is to look for space that's quiet. And I think that's just telling you how busy and how loud our overstuffed classrooms are that are just full of kids. And that's no shot against any teachers anywhere. It's just, it's where we are. It's what we live in. You can't provide that space when there's 37 teenagers in your room going 6, 7, skibbity bibbity, right? So yeah, that's me. I also like to crush bangers and rip frescas. Like I'm ripping a fresca right now, first strike fresca. Hope this helps.
So I just want to make it really clear that I don't like privatization. If I didn't make that clear already, I want to make it clear again. But really what I want to make clear is that I don't blame private schools for the situation we're in right now. And I don't actually think like private schools are a bad thing or a bad idea, or even with our healthcare privatizing pieces of it. That's not what I'm blaming on the situation we're in now.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've talked a little bit about this. What do you think about the privatization of?
Well, we covered this in our healthcare episode a little bit.
Yeah.
Where we talked about, like, by most metrics, the portions of our healthcare that have been privatized have been a failure. Like, it has not wait times and cost. They've not gotten any better. Mm-hmm. And if there's stats that show that, I'd love to see them. But from what I can tell, it's not made things better.
Right.
And so, but to me, that's the playbook, right? The playbook is, and again, like, I think some of this is a bit of a fundamental difference in how you think a society should run. Like, again, it's my opinion that if you want a healthy, functioning democracy, you need, really good access to healthcare, to give people dignity and health, and access to good education to have an educated populace. So, like, if you think privatization is the way to go, I don't know that I disagree.
Yeah.
But when it comes to governments like this, I think the playbook is very obvious, and they're the ones in control of funding these institutions. So when they underfund education for this long, and then turn around and say it's not working, we need more privatization, it's like we're not stupid. Like, we know what that is. It's an obvious playbook. It's a very American in a lot of ways playbook. Mm-hmm. So I'm not against private schools either. In fact, I think they're actually probably a pretty important part of a functioning education system. It gives people some choice. Obviously those students who go to private schools, they're taken out of public schools, so the numbers are more bad. Like it's not inherently a bad thing. I get a little frustrated with the percentages in Alberta. I think we're the highest percentages that we fund private schools in the country, right? Which, if we're a rich province and we can afford to, that's great. But if you're going to tell us on one hand we can't afford this for public schools anymore, and on the other hand, fund more than any other province private schools, I do wonder about that a little bit, right? And as far as I know, private schools, there's really no cap on their tuition, so they could be making money, really, right. Off their tuition with our taxpayer money. So it gets a little murky for me. I think if you can afford a good public system, then yeah, sure, fund all kinds of stuff. But
I'd agree with all that. I think really this segment is sort of in defense of the public institutions, right? Like we need to shut down private institutions. We want to be in Alberta. We want the basic level of education. We want that to go up, right? Instead of like that. And that, to me, that makes sense. Like you want everybody to have access to, I'd say, great education, not just good enough or, like a basic level. I think we want that bar to just go up. Well, and then if you can afford to go to a private school or you choose that, that's totally fine. Yeah. But I think what we need to focus on right now is bringing up that just the bar for what a basic public education is, because it's fallen over the last 10 years.
Yeah. And it's also like, don't forget, like it's an investment in your whole province. Like whenever you fund schools, you are reaping the benefits of that going forward every time. I mean, even teacher salaries, like where are they spending their money? Like they're stimulating your economy. It goes right back into your economy, right? It's not like it's, we're not investing in offshore accounts and stuff and buying Turkish Tylenol. Like but yeah, no, I think that's important too, Tyler. Like I do know that but here's the thing. There's people who, when you say invest in public education, a lot of people hear that and they think about like indoctrination or like wokeness, and they have a problem with what public education, what that actually means. Yeah. Does that make sense? Like they say, I know what you mean when you say good education, but someone might hear that and think about the things they've read or heard about kitty litter and all this kind of nonsense. Like there's some crap out there that people read that, first of all, it's not true. Yeah,
but that's where these topics have become harder to talk about, because culture wars are just murkying the waters. Or like if we just want to talk about our kids getting an education and being safe and wanting to be there and having a teacher that likes their job, and that's really what we're talking about. But everything is coded. It's like when you say this keyword, then people are going to think, oh, you're on, you want the kids to read porn in school, or, and then if someone else says something, you're like, oh, you're a book burner. Like, but that's not what we're talking about right now, but so everything's wrapped up in those other issues.
I'm gonna stop you though. Like when you said we're just talking about education, but like that is a loaded word for a lot of people. Like when you say education, what do you mean, right? Do you mean comprehensive sex ed? Or do you, like there's things that people assume about even just when you say generally education, who's writing the curriculum, right? What's the perspective? Are you respecting oil in your...
I have opinions on those things.
Yes.
For sure.
Everyone would.
But in this conversation about the strike and funding public education, I feel like those things we can only deal with one thing at a time.
Right.
And that is getting harder and harder to do.
Yes.
But,
well, do you think like let's look at the book restriction, the book ban, the timing of that? Yeah, it's right in the middle of this negotiation.
And that is, I think books are like those. That issue is very much ingrained, like part of education.
Yes.
But I also think it's a distraction from what we're really trying to accomplish.
I agree.
Right now.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well,
we should do an episode on book ban, like book ban. So
I would like to.
yeah.
Do you? I don't know. When I hear about book bans, I always want to see the list and be like, have I read these books? Like,
Yeah.
you know.
I always feel pretty proud when it's like, oh, those are all on my bookshelf right now.
So our outlook right now, Tyler, we should wrap up. I really appreciate all of you who sent in clips for us. We love you, and we love hearing what you have to say. Dang it, I miss Chris too. You know, his words of wisdom. He just cut through the noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was hard. It felt like a lot more work this time.
Yeah. You just can't defer to like the smartest person in the room because I don't even know who that is right now. But thank you to those of you who shared, and there's nothing really to wrap this up with right now, right? Like this is an open wound. Like this is crazy. Like it's a reality right now for every Albertan family with kids, and so I don't know how to send us off, Tyler, but do you feel hopeful at all? Are you feeling crushed? Predictions?
Pretty crushed.
Usually we try to end harmoniously.
Yeah, no, but I think honesty is harmonious.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
No, I think I do have hope. It's not it's a big hope. But I don't really, I'm just going to say I do have a hope.
Okay.
I hope that whatever happens in the end of this, when this ends, because it will end, at some point.
Yeah.
But I hope that after this, we have taken a step as a group, like all of us in Alberta, towards a better understanding of our institutions and how they affect how things work. Like, and I think that's definitely doable. Like that can happen after all this, whatever the numbers on the contract are, like that. Like if we take that all out of there and we just say, okay, after this, we can look back and say, okay, we had some good conversations about the state of schools in Alberta, and we're maybe rethinking the path forward.
One more reminder too, to people who maybe listen to this podcast, maybe you're not a teacher, maybe you don't really know many teachers, but when you hear the things, because there will be a lot of things that you're going to hear from ATA, the government. I get their YouTube ads sometimes, bragging about the numbers, and I kind of roll my eyes and I think, man, there's just no context to any of this. But it's like, if you're following, just look for context, talk to teachers, or even just look up numbers. I mean, it's not that hard to look things up, and context is the key. And I think so much of when we're in all these debates and back and forth, we're losing context and what numbers really mean. So just try to stay vigilant and hug a teacher, a parent. It's gonna be a hard time. Yeah.
Stay harmonious.
And if Tyler, you're gonna get that $30 per kid? Are you gonna apply for that? How do you feel about that?
Try. I don't know. It's like, it felt like a bit of a slap in the face when I heard about that, and it came out so quick and had this.
The plan was ready to go.
Ad, but like it was ready to go. So like they clearly didn't expect us to accept that offer, and we're ready to go with their plan. And again, it makes it. But don't worry, like we'll send out an online curriculum. Kind of again, like devaluing what we do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So.
Well, I just remember during.
But having said that, like I'm in a household right now without any income, so.
Sure. So you won't be donating that money to the NDP.
Maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I can't get a hard answer from Tyler right now on that one, but we'll next time. Okay, well, our confessions were the entire episode this time, so
yes.
Thanks for chatting, Ty.
Yeah,
and
no, it was good.
Chris, we'll see you next time. I think there'll be a new episode coming out in just a couple of days, actually. So if this wasn't for you, we'll talk to you soon about something else.
Okay.
See you soon on
the Harmonious
Gentlemen
podcast.